From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Over a month after a Wrongway accident on I-90 near Livingston left a Bozeman woman in critical condition, charges have finally been filed against an Ohio woman.
Vice President Harris pivots to policy. I'm Jared Hill with what we know about the Democrats' new cost of living plans as former President Trump explains his personal tax.
A school shooting is a dreadful thought, but police still have to be prepared. I'll tell you how Butte police use this school to train for such a nightmare scenario.
MTN's Megan Elaine here, seeing what plans the Bozeman Airport has to expand.
Alrighty, it is 6 o'clock on this Friday morning. Jane McDonald, Matt Owell with you bright and early. And Matt, we finally made it to Friday.
Yeah, I was ready.
Too. I think I'm on my second, third cup of coffee right now. I'm just buzzing up for the weekend.
You're doing all right, yeah. I haven't done the third one yet, but I may actually take a little.
We're going to find out if it was a mistake, the third one. So we'll find out here pretty soon.
Yeah, you'll get your quickest weather forecast ever. Right now we're looking at temperatures into the 40s. It looks like a couple of low 50s. Beautiful morning. We're seeing pretty clear skies for at least the first half of the day. The afternoon does hold some isolated shower and thunderstorm chances. Doesn't look like it's going to have a lot of teeth, but there may be a stray shower or two trying to roll through. Let's enjoy the day. Mainly sunny conditions. Highs right near the 80-degree mark, a little below average. Again, we're looking at the golden hour across the area for the morning. Beautiful sunrise. I'm going to talk more in depth about the weekend ahead and into next week in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. Now, a month after a Wrongway vehicle collision near Livingston left a Bozeman woman in critical condition, details have finally been released regarding the alleged driver. MTN's Heaven Van has our update.
An Ohio woman was recently identified as the alleged Wrongway driver near Livingston that left a Bozeman woman in critical condition. According to court documents, on July 10, 2024, 53-year-old Jennifer Lager Furman drove eastbound in the westbound lane of I-90, where shortly after 7 p.m. she collided with 23-year-old Taylor Bornong. Documents say that Furman was driving under the influence of alcohol. Her blood alcohol content was .279, over 3 times the legal limit. Additional research revealed that Furman was a family medicine doctor out of Ohio until her medical license was suspended by the Ohio State Medical Board in November of 2023. The formal action report cites the reason as substance abuse or excessive use of drugs or alcohol being an impairment to her practice. Following the accident, both drivers were treated for serious injuries, Taylor undergoing numerous surgeries and rehabilitation in Billings. According to Montana Highway Patrol, in the last 6 months, 89 Wrongway collisions have occurred statewide, 6 of those crashes being fatal, resulting in 7 deaths overall. 2 of those fatal collisions occurred in Gallatin and Broadwater counties, prompting action on the part of local law enforcement. In April, better lighting at interchanges in Bozeman were added, as well as 9 new Wrongway detection and warning systems. Jennifer Lager Furman is facing 1 felony count of criminal endangerment and 1 felony count of negligent vehicular assault. Her initial court appearance is set for October 1st, 2024. In Bozeman, Heaven Van, MTN News.
And this morning, we're getting you details on the exact proposals Vice President Kamala Harris will discuss today in Raleigh, North Carolina. They include more assistance for first-time homeowners and efforts to combat high prices. Yesterday, the Vice President joined President Joe Biden at an event in Maryland in a show of party unity. CBS News' Jared Hill has the latest from New York.
One day after her first joint event with President Biden since becoming the Democratic presidential nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris is set to lay out her first major policy proposal in battleground North Carolina. The economic plan, including the first ever federal ban on price gouging, tax incentives for renters and new housing construction, as well as down payment support of up to $25,000 for first-time homebuyers.
My entire career I have worked to hold bad actors accountable.
At yesterday's official White House event in Maryland, President Biden praised his VP.
She's going to make one hell of a president.
And threw in some personal digs at his predecessor.
The guy we're running against, what's his name? Donald Dump or Donald whatever.
At a news conference at his golf club in New Jersey, Trump focused on food prices and lobbed insults of his own at Harris.
I think I'm entitled to personal attacks. I don't have a lot of respect for her. I don't have a lot of respect for her intelligence, and I think she'll be a terrible president.
Trump also defended his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance.
She called J.D. and I weird. He's not weird. He was a great student at Yale.
Meanwhile, we're getting our first look at the stage of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago next week. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Vice President Harris's economic proposals will likely require congressional approval in order to become law. This weekend, both candidates will be hitting the campaign trail in Pennsylvania. Former President Trump will rally in Wilkes-Barre on Saturday, and then the next day, Harris and Governor Walz will launch a bus tour in Pittsburgh. Now, it's rare, especially in today's political climate, that you see an issue that Republicans and Democrats are united on. And for whoever wins in 2025, tax policy will be high on Congress's agenda for next year as the Trump-era tax cuts expire. But for taxes on tips, this may be an issue that keeps the politicians on one side and the experts on the other.
It's political gamesmanship at its finest. 2 campaigns, 2 promises, and in this rare instance, it's surprisingly the same one.
For those hotel workers and people that get tips, you're going to be very happy, because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips.
And it is my promise to everyone here, when I am president, we will continue our fight for working families of America. Including to raise the minimum wage and eliminate taxes on tips.
Both candidates have been vague, though, on the how of their proposals. And another question, is it even realistic?
Well, when I hear the political parties agreeing, I put my hand on my wallet.
To find out, we asked tax expert Stephen Rosenthal.
It's one of those proposals that sounds good and may resonate politically, but it scores very badly on our tax policy scorecard.
Rosenthal explained when it comes to tax policy, this idea is a tax loser on equity, efficiency, and revenue. For equity, it would treat similarly situated taxpayers differently. Efficiency, it would encourage workers to relabel their compensation as tips. And when it comes to revenue,
is it a revenue raiser or a loser? Well, here it's a pretty large raiser. The best estimates seem to be around a couple of $100 billion over the 10-year congressional budget window. And that's a large number, and that's a static number. That does not even account for all the losses that would occur as more and more workers relabel their compensation tips and tax exempt from wages.
Adding to the deficit while helping only a small fraction of workers. According to the Budget Lab, a nonpartisan policy research center, there were 4 million U.S. workers in tipped occupations last year, or about 2.5% of all employees. And more than a third of those had income low enough to already not pay any federal income tax.
Would a better solution be to increase taxes on corporations to pay those folks sustainable wages, livable wages?
I think so. If you're trying to think about a proposal that tries to benefit the lower and middle class workers more than the higher income workers, you really wouldn't look to exemptions for tips. You'd look to increasing the minimum wage.
The federal minimum wage remained at $7.25 per hour, last updated in 2009. When that is adjusted for inflation, that's a rate 29% less per hour than their counterparts made 50 years ago. So for our seasoned tax expert, tax-free tips, a popular sounding move that in the end will likely not pay off for the workers who need the relief most or the federal deficit.
6:08 now. Unfortunately, mass shootings continue to happen, and law enforcement must always be prepared to respond when they do. MTN's John Amy was with Butte Police earlier this week to see how they train for such a terrible event.
Bullet casings on the floor, the sound of panic, even fake blood. Butte law enforcement is trying to make an active shooter scenario seem very realistic. so that in the event of an actual school shooting, police will be ready.
It's a realistic scenario, it's a stressful scenario, and that's how you learn is in training. If there is going to be a mistake, we want to make it during training so we don't repeat it during an actual situation.
Butte police used an empty Kennedy Elementary School building to conduct a drill that involved an active shooter in the school. The drill had an officer arrive at the school alone and immediately go in after the shooter.
I did okay. Could have been better.
Officer Joseph Lubick said it's important for officers to scrutinize themselves in training for the possibility of a mass shooting.
You realize, once your scenario is over and you're, talking with, you're debriefing how you did, you think, oh, I should have done this better, I could have done this better.
When confronting an active shooter situation, police are trained not to hesitate.
Time is the critical element. The less time the suspect has to take action and create that threat, the less casualties we have. And so we always want to confront that threat and eliminate the threat as quickly as we possibly can.
In Butte, John Amy, MTN News.
And Bozeman Yellowstone International Airport planning the largest airport project in Montana history. Our Megan Elaine tells us the work that has already begun at the state's busiest airport.
As July was the busiest month at the Bozeman Airport, there is now a 4.5-year plan to help with the growing pains.
With change, you have to expand and accommodate for that, whether it's expanding the airport and the footprint, expanding the availability and options for people to get in and out, for sure.
Susan Sanders was visiting family in Billings and says Bozeman Yellowstone International Airport is her preferred place to travel. In 2019, the airport handled 1.5 million passengers. This year, they expect to handle 2.6 million passengers. With more travelers comes the need for expansion.
Overall, we're expecting this project to be about $180 million. It will be the largest airport project in Montana history.
They noticed challenges with parking, security checkpoints, and continual problems at baggage claim.
And as we continue to grow, we're going to have challenges in the future if we don't provide the infrastructure.
The airport plans to expand the baggage claim area with 3 high-capacity carousels, add a second security checkpoint on the east end, and build a 3rd floor for airport administration offices.
On the second level, really the goal on the second level is to ultimately add 3 additional gates to take us ultimately to 15.
Also, with a plan to add more BZN markets and restaurants and lounge areas. Don't expect to see a Chili's or an Applebee's anytime soon.
A lot of what we focus on here at the airport is really branding that is local in nature and actually focus more on the airport rather than national base.
As the plan unfolds for the next 4.5 years, Brian tells me it won't impact travelers too much. Susan is excited to keep catching flights at Bozeman Yellowstone International Airport.
I knew it way back in the day, and I see what it's become, and I understand it's expanding, so I'm sure it's going to be wonderful.
More information on the East Terminal expansion project can be found on our website. In Bozeman, Megan Elaine, MTN News.
Well, and I gotta say, Matt, I think one of the prettiest backdrops to an airport that I've ever seen. The beautiful bridges in the back, so it's always
gorgeous,
fun
isn't it?
seeing the planes land and come on in. All right, before we head into a break, wanted to share this with you. Now, just about everything is expensive, but Taylor Swift tickets, that's an illegal on its own.
That is true.
I mean, some of them go for $800, $1,500, thousands of dollars. Well, that was not going to stop an 8-year-old girl from attending the concert
that's
of
awesome.
her dreams. Now, this little girl, she set up a lemonade stand all the time. This is Elena Flores. She would stand outside of Phillies games, of big outings, and just try to get as many people to come in as possible.
So that she could go see Taylor?
Yep. She raised thousands of dollars.
Oh, that's amazing.
So guess what? They went to London.
Oh, that's so cool.
I mean, talk about an amazing venue
Yeah.
to see any concert, but the fact that it's her favorite artist
Yeah.
and she worked hard to go see her. So it's a pretty heartwarming thing, I think.
It really is. And I have to say, I think about this as I've had kids, but you know, these pop stars, icons, our kids are looking up to them, and look at the hard work that pays off.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's
that's
really,
cool.
it's a touching thing. So good on you, Elena. Hope you had a great time over at the concert in London. Now, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, though, well, we have some exciting news for all you sports fans out there. MTN is going to be premiering Sports Extra, a 30-minute sports show airing every single Saturday, starting in just a day. We'll have that and much more when we come back.